What is going on, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be checking out some old school RuneScape specialty weapons. Now, all of these weapons are really good depending on where you're using them and what you're using them for. Now, between running a Discord channel, a clan chat, talking to people in the game and outside the game, this video is basically going to be for our mid-level players that are working their way into the late game and end game content. Our veteran players and seasoned players most likely know what all of these weapons do and what their special effects do, but this is more or less for our mid-level friends to kind of move into the late game knowing what these weapons do so they can make the correct choices when they're buying gear for that end game content. Before we get into today's video, if you haven't had the chance to check out my old school RuneScape merch store, there is a link in the description below to my Etsy shop. Everything in this shop is handmade and shipped to you from my office by yours truly. That's me. We've got all kinds of stuff in this shop. We've got beer glasses, beer mugs, coffee mugs, mouse pads, stickers, decals, canned koozies, and t-shirts. Anything that you might like, check it out. And if you did take the time to watch this little plug for this video, you can also enjoy 10% off your purchase of $20 or more by using the code WEAPONS10. That will also be listed in the description below. So if you took the time to check that out, you could save a little bit of cash on anything in my store. So let's get into this. We are going to be checking out several different weapons that all have special effects based on the type of weapon they have and what they're going to be used for. So we're going to start out with some melee weapons. The first one we're going to check out is the recently added Osmumten's Fang. This weapon is a one-handed stab weapon that is obtained from the tombs of a mascot. This is a higher level weapon. It does require level 82 attack to wield, and it does have two unique passive effects, which are generally better to use against monsters with higher defense levels. That way it makes the damage more consistent overall. So as for these special passive effects, what do they do? Well, it behaves differently in both stages of its attack. That is, it's determining when a successful hit is occurred and how much damage is applied. Now on the screen here, you can see the formula that is used to calculate this damage. Now, what does this mean? It doesn't mean anything to us. We don't care about this. All we want to know is how does it work? The first effect concerns the probability of landing a successful hit. This is different whether you are in the tombs of a mascot or outside. Within the raid, the check is performed using the standard mechanics, but is repeated. If either check succeeds, a successful hit has been made. If you are outside of the raid, two independent accuracy rolls are made, and if either is higher than the opponent's defense roll, then the attack will succeed. Now, the second effect actually involves a formula to determine the damage rolls. Now, other weapons in old school RuneScape always roll between 0 and their maximum successful hit. The Fang will always determine and deal damage between 15% and 85% of the maximum hit when a successful hit is registered. So if the Fang's, and I'm taking this from the wiki, if the Fang's true max hit was 60, it would actually roll between 9 and 51 instead of 0 to 60, and that is if the damage is a successful hit. While this effect doesn't increase the expected damage per second, it does have the effect of lowering the overall variance of damage output. The Osmumten's Fang also does have a special attack, which is called Eviscerate, and it uses 25% of the player's special attack bar. This attack provides 50% increased accuracy for the next hit, and it also uses the Fang's true max hit when determining damage rolls. So if you had a true max hit of 60, it would roll between 9 and 60 damage upon a successful hit, rather than the usual 9 to 51, using that 15 to 85% maximum hit. So essentially what we're looking at here is a weapon that is much better to use against targets with higher defense. Instead of rolling between a 0 and whatever on a higher defense monster, you're always looking at rolling between 15 and 85%. So you would skip out on all those lower numbers, and if you do register a successful hit, you're always going to do some damage. Does this increase the DPS? Not really. But again, it does have the effect of lowering the overall variance of damage output. The next specialty weapon we'll check out is the Bando's Godsword, and most everybody knows what this special attack does. It drains defense levels, but that is not all it does. The Bando's special attack, War Strike, actually has doubled accuracy and inflicts 21% more damage, but it drains your opponent's combat levels equivalent to the damage hit in the following order. First, it does defense. Following that, it will then do strength, prayer, attack, magic, and then ranged. It is a 50% special attack, and you can use it twice or more depending on what you're doing. Now, this is very popular to use against a corporeal beast because you want to drain these stats as much as possible. You're going to use a few different stats draining weapons when you're fighting the corporeal beast, but the Bandos Godsword is very important. If you do this in the right order, which I do have a solo guide to this if you're looking for it, it will essentially make the corporeal beast like fighting a 2000 HP chicken. Its stats get so drained, it's pretty much level 1 in everything. Now, how does this compare to the other defense-reducing special attack weapon, the Dragon Warhammer? Well, the Dragon Warhammer actually reduces by a set percentage, so that's where the two vary, and it will only drain defense levels. If you land a successful hit with the Dragon Warhammer, it will reduce it by 30%. Now, this is where the differences come in. The Bandos Godsword is much better to use on monsters with lower defense levels, and the Dragon Warhammer is better to use on monsters with higher defense levels. Let's take Cerberus for example. Cerberus has 100 defense. If you use the Dragon Warhammer on Cerberus and land a successful hit, you're only going to reduce the defense by 30 because of that 30%. If you use a Bandos Godsword, well, you have the chance to hit much higher and drain many more defense levels, upwards of 60 damage. So when it comes to defense levels, you want to check what has high defense and what has low. That is how it's going to determine whether you use a Bandos Godsword or a Dragon Warhammer in that situation. Next up is everyone's favorite ranged weapon, probably, the Twisted Bow. The Twisted Bow is a drop that comes from the Chambers of Xeric, and it requires a range level of level 85 to wield, so it is a pretty high tier ranged weapon. Its current grand exchange value at the time of this video is 1.3 billion GP. You might think, oh, I could never get that. I could never save that much money. Yes, you can. Everybody can. Just takes hard work and determination. Now, why is this probably the best ranged weapon in the game? Well, the Twisted Bow has a passive effect. Unlike other bows that have a set strength, this bow functions differently. The higher the target's magic level or magic accuracy, yes, either one of those, the higher the accuracy of the bow and the higher the damage of the bow. Now, this accuracy multiplier caps at 140%, while the damage multiplier caps at 250%. Magic level or accuracy caps at 250 outside of the Chambers of Xeric and 350 within. Again, here's another cool formula for you. What does it mean? Well, nothing to us. All we want to know is what it does. So basically, if you use this bow anywhere that doesn't have a very high magic level or magic accuracy, it's not really going to do anything for you. It's going to hit like a terrible bow. If you go try to find something with level 1 magic and no magic accuracy to speak of, you're pretty much wasting your time. But where is this bow actually good? Well, a lot of places actually. It's very good for soloing Commander Xiliana. It's very good at the Alchemical Hydra. It's very good at the Abyssal Sire, Cerberus, in the Chambers of Xeric, the Tombs of Amasket, Theater of Blood. Anywhere that these monsters have huge magic levels and magic accuracies is where this bow is going to shine. Currently, with the release of Missouri and some of the other ranged items that have come out, the thing has a huge max hit, even outside of the Chambers of Xeric. If you're firing on Rapid and you have best in slot range gear, your max hit is 88 on Rapid and 90 on the accurate setting. If you're on a Slayer task, and if you're not on a Slayer task, well then it's 77 and 79 while you're off a task. But that is still huge damage. I mean, personally, right now I'm trying to work on finishing the Alchemical Hydra collection log, and this thing shreds. I mean, I'm seeing over 100,000 XP an hour in the range skill with the Twisted Bow because of this damage and accuracy multiplier. Because of this damage and accuracy multiplier, it makes the Twisted Bow a prime weapon for a bank dump and rebuild. You can pretty much do it in a lot of different places. One of the great places to do it, just to get a little bit of cash and back on your feet, is the Brutal Black Dragons, because they do have a huge magic level, and you can shred through them whether you're on or off a Slayer task. Other places, you can use it at Zulrah, and like I mentioned before, at Commander Xiliana. So if you're getting close to the purchase price of a twisted bow and you're trying to decide, should I dump the rest of my bank to get a twisted bow? Yes, the answer is always yes. Twisted bows make twisted bow money. If you're trying to dump your bank and rebuild with a twisted bow, it is absolutely a great idea. So stop hesitating and go buy yourself a twisted bow. Our next weapon is the Venator bow, and this weapon was just released a couple weeks before this video along with Secrets of the North quest. Now this is a two-handed ranged weapon that does require level 80 range to wield, but it can fire any type of arrow that you want to use with it. It has an attack range of 6 or 8 when using the long range combat style. And it doesn't degrade, but it does need to be charged with Ancient Essence that is dropped by the Phantom Musbow, which is the new repeatable boss after Secrets of the North. So what does this passive effect do? Well, the Venator bow has a passive effect that requires that Ancient Essence to use. When you're attacking targets in a multi-combat area, the bow will try to find another target to fire another arrow, dealing 66% of the original damage. Then the attack can bounce again, either to the original target or a third one nearby. So where would this bow actually be good? I've seen a lot of people starting to use this bow on Slayer tasks for AFK range XP, especially places like in the Catacombs of Kourend, where it is entirely a multi-combat area, except for over at the Brutal Black Dragons, Reds, and Blues. So essentially, if you're using this bow in the Catacombs of Kourend, you can stack some NPCs on top of each other, throw on your prey melee or whatever you need to pray, and then just start firing. As long as they're on top of each other or their center tile is close enough to the other center tile, which would be about 2 squares, the arrows are going to bounce around. Now the only thing is, each one of these bounces also has its own independent accuracy check. So you might hit the first one and then it bounces somewhere else, and then you don't hit anything, and then it could bounce to the third one and you get a little bit more damage. Additionally, you'll get XP drops for each one of these bounces, so you'll be able to see actually when you're getting XP and when you're not. Now, because it does use Essence to actually charge it and use it, you're actually looking at about an hourly rate of about 130,000 GP to use the bow at the time of this video. I'm assuming that as time goes on, those Ancient Essences are going to get cheaper and cheaper, so that hourly rate might decrease. Next up, we're going to check out a couple of magic weapons. We're going to start out with the ever-popular Tumeken's Shadow. The Tumeken Shadow is a two-handed powered staff that requires 85 magic to wield. All of the other powered staffs in the game are only one-handed, and you can use some sort of shield with them. The Tumeken Shadow, due to its passive effect, you do not need a shield with this thing. So this staff is charged with Soul and Chaos runes. I think the charges are sitting around 800 GP or so each right now. So in addition to its passive effect of having a built-in spell into it, it also will increase the magic attack bonus and magic damage multiplied by 3 from the player's worn equipment. And if you are in the Tombs of Amascut, it will multiply it by 4. The magic damage increase from this is capped at a total of 100% magic strength. And this also actually works when having a negative magic bonus, which will triple the negative bonuses. The passive effect of this staff is incredibly powerful at pretty much any boss in old school RuneScape, and it even works really well on those with high magic levels, which the magic level determines the magic defense as well. I've seen this staff being used at Bandos, different chambers of Xeric bosses, inside the Theater of Blood, and it shreds through all of them. So what about max hits with this staff? Well, they're actually pretty nuts. If you do have best in slot magic gear and you're just using the staff out and about, you happen to have a saturated heart, you're looking at a max hit of about 64. And again, that is with best in slot magic boosting damage gear. Now, if you're on a Slayer task, well, that increases. You're looking at a max hit of something about 70. And if you do have the staff and you're using it in raids, oh man, in the Tombs of Amascut, your maximum hit goes all the way up to 80 when you're using smelling salts. Now, if you were to grab one of these staffs and decided you wanted to charge it all the way up, it's going to cost you about 16.5 mil. And that will charge it up with 40,000 soul runes and 100,000 chaos runes. And if you are using this non-stop, you're using about 1,200 casts per hour, making the cost about $1 mil per hour to use. My last weapon I wanted to cover for this video is another magic weapon, and this one is going to be the Kodai wand. This is the strongest wand in old school RuneScape, and it requires a magic level of 80 to wield. The good thing about this wand is it is able to auto-cast ancient magic, standard spells, and Arceus combat spells. So any combat spell in the game you can cast with this wand. Another cool thing about it is it does provide unlimited water runes when it is equipped. It also comes along with a 15% chance of negating rune costs when casting an offensive spell and gives you a 15% bonus in magic damage. Additionally, you can pair a Tome of Water with the Kodai wand, and it will use the soaked pages, but the accuracy and damage bonuses from the tome are also used while casting one of those water spells, thus increasing your damage with a water spell further. This wand is created using a Kodai insignia that you can get from the Chambers of Xeric as a mega rare drop, and you will use it on a master wand. But if you thought that you could get either of them back, well, you can't, because once you make a Kodai wand, the process cannot be reverted. So your master wand and Kodai insignia are paired together forever. So that's going to do it for this video. This is just 6 weapons that have special and passive effects that I think that our mid-level players probably should know about when they're trying to choose their gear. Again, if you're a higher level player, a veteran player, you probably already knew all this, so this video definitely was not targeted at you. This video was just more or less to help our mid-level players start to move into endgame content and decide where they really want to put their money into what kind of gear to progress their accounts further. And again, I made this video because I've seen a lot of misconceptions about some of these weapons from our mid-level players that just don't really know exactly what they do and all the things that they can do. So I wanted to create a more perfect picture for some people who are going to be checking out this video so they can decide what they want to get. As always, guys, thank you for watching this video. If it helped you out, if you learned something, if you liked it, please leave a thumbs up down below. They do help video popularity. They put it in more people's suggested, so more people like you might be able to find it if they need some help deciding what weapon they want. As always, guys, please tap that subscribe button on your way out. Thank you again for watching. I will see you on the next one. Take it easy.